Hi, Mr. Flores, can you hear us?
He's on mute right now. He's on mute.
Hi, Mr. Flores, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great.
Sir? And Janelle, if you don't mind, I'm going to mute your mic as well.
I was just going to do that.
Okay. Oh, go ahead. Ms. Musserman, do you mind if we mute your mic?
Not at all.
All right. You know how to unmute it if you need to. A little red circle.
Oh, I can do it myself. I keep waiting for you.
No, you sure can.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah, if you see the meeting controls down there, the one that looks like a microphone, if you just turn that red, then your microphone will be muted. There you are. Perfect. Oh, and I see Miss Haro just joined, so let me add her.
Great.
Mrs. Haro, are you able to hear us?
I can hear you.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Sarabia, can you hear us? You may need to unmute yourself. There we are.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. I'll move you back to the attendee list, and then when it's time for your presentation, I'll bring you back in.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Still don't see Mr. Chang.
Waiting for Mr. Ibarra and Ms. Doreen Ojeda.
Yes.
We also need Mr. Williams, Mike Williams, and right to be part of this. And no one.
Yes, he's already joined, and we've tested his mic, and he's waiting in the attendee lounge.
Okay.
He's set up.
He's ready to go. Okay,
He's
great.
ready to go.
Right. Awesome. So, we're still missing Joanne Thorne Ojeda.
Correct.
Miss Ojeda, and how about Miss Sandoval?
Ms. Sandoval's on. We're just waiting for Doreen Ojeda and Mr. Ibarra.
Okay. Hey, Amanda.
Hi, Frank.
Is everyone here, Joanne?
We're still missing Miss Doreen Ojeda and Mr. Ibarra. I have not heard any word from them.
And Ms. Thornhill had just texted me. She's having some technical difficulties. She's attempting to join right now.
Okay,
And she said
Well,
she might be using her phone.
I see. Okay.
And you said who else was missing? Because it's 5:30.
Mr. Ibarra.
Oh, that's not like him.
Yeah, I haven't heard it from him either.
Mr. Chang, are you able to hear us?
I can call Mr. Ibarra real quick.
Okay.
Owen, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I think Mr. Ibarra is on, Dr. Miranda. Mr.
Okay,
Ibarra,
so
can
we're
you
just-
hear us?
Hello.
Hi, Mr.
Okay, good.
Ibarra.
Hi, everybody.
Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. I'd like to call the August 6, 2020 board meeting to order. Tonight, before we officially begin our meeting, the Colton Joint Unified School District would like to observe a moment of silence in honor of Joanne Bautista, attendance assistant at Terrace Hills Middle School. Our deepest condolences go to her family and the Terrace Hills Middle School family. Joanne will be missed by family, students, and colleagues. A moment of silence, please. Thank you very much for observing a moment of silence for Joanne Bautista. Item 1.2, the renewal of our Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Miranda.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
Thank you, Dr. Miranda. Item 1.3, the adoption of the August 6th, 2020 agenda. I will need a motion to adopt the agenda with the following amendments. Amend closed session item 8.3, personal and public employee. Appointment, discipline, dismissal, release, Government Code 54957. Of one classified coach, varsity football assistant, boys. Addition of 31 mental health interns. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Israel.
Second, Dan.
Thank you both. I have a motion by Board Member Fuentes and a second by Board Member Flores to adopt the agenda as recommended. Joanne, would you please do a roll call vote?
Mr. Ibarra,
Yes.
Mrs. Haro,
Yes.
Mr. Flores,
Yes.
Miss Doreen Ojeda,
Yes.
Miss Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Fuentes,
Yes.
Mrs. Adigid. Thank you.
On a motion by Board Member Fuentes and a second by Board Member Flores, the board adopted the agenda as recommended on a 7-0 vote. Moving on to 2.0, our public comment. Joanne, please read our public comments this evening.
This public comments is submitted as from an anonymous individual. You should have pushed back the start date. This is a huge mess. There are kids without teachers. You have failed the children. Public comment number 2 is from a parent, Patricia Romero. And I will start the timer. Good evening, board members. As previously pointed out by one of your own board members of the lack of clarification at the previous meeting regarding school structure of the upcoming school year, I am extremely disappointed to say the very least that there still has been no improvement. As a parent of a second grader, I would like to point out that the younger students will require assistance during distance learning. As of today, the second day of school for Michael DRC, parents have still yet to receive any type of schedule of when their student needs to be online. Despite having asked the same question numerous times about scheduling at the last board meeting and reaching out to both principal and teacher, there have been no answers. How do you expect students to succeed when their parents cannot prepare for their education? It is understandable that the current education model is new, but that should not be an excuse for parents to be ignored. At the very least, a date could be given of when an online schedule will be available. Why was it not already given to parents? At the very least, a date could be given of when an online schedule will be available. Why was it not already given to parents to prepare ahead of time? Many parents need to arrange alternative care tutors to help with online studies. Proven by other surrounding districts, schools that have already provided parents with an outline of how daily scheduling is set up, it can be accomplished. Parents barely received an email introduction from their student's teacher at 8:40 p.m. the night before the first day of school, and an email from the principal at 7:34 p.m. with instructions on what to do for the next day. That absolutely gives parents no time to get things ready for the following day. All of this only to find out the first day of school provides no useful new information, but only a slideshow that could have been a pre-recorded video. Both school days, if you could even call them that, were barely 30 minutes of online interaction. Our second day consisting of reading a book to the students. If parents are taking time off to assist their students in getting familiar with online schooling, why waste days for working parents if the schools are not prepared to start? Are working parents forced to not be able to go to work to sit around waiting for basic information? It is very disturbing the lack of support parents and teachers have in the new educational structure. If parents are now mainly in charge of their students' education, should we not be given the necessary resources and information to do so? A very concerned parent. Public comment number 3, Esmeralda Schreiner, Grand Terrace High School teacher. Members of the board, superintendent, members of the CJUSD community. I first and foremost want to thank this district in making every effort to include all stakeholders in the discussions about including diverse works of literature in our curriculum. In particular, I want to thank Dr. Mooney for facilitating these discussions with both teachers and parents. As a 17-year veteran teacher proudly serving the communities of Bloomington and Grand Terrace over my tenure, I have had the privilege to teach a diverse group of incredibly talented students. I have seen the power that class discussions about novels that speak to the heart of our collective existence have in our student body. In fact, to this day, I still have former students craving to continue to talk about new novels, despite the fact they are no longer in my class. When people ask, well, what is the educational value of teaching diverse texts? I often am taken back, and I remember you really have to be in the room to see what happens. I remember you must know what it is like to receive an education where your culture, your values, and your existence is not validated by institutions of power. I have seen students open up for the first time and feel a sense of pride, a sense of belonging and expertise that many have never felt before. I have seen in students' eyes a sense of validation when they hear from voices of authors that represent their reality, their existence. There is something of beauty that transforms these young students into having their stories validated in a formal setting such as school. Suddenly, students of color or any other unrepresented group find their voice. Their passion to suddenly be invited into the discussion, not as an obligatory gesture or an afterthought, but one of marked importance. Just as students are aware of the inclusion of works of literature, they are painfully aware of the exclusion as well. Our young scholars know that CJUSD has a list of challenged books, and almost every book on that list is by an author of color, in particular African American authors. Our students are so bright. They also understand what this fact implicitly says about the Black experience and its representation in our schools. We, as a publicly funded institution, must ask ourselves why. Why is there a concerted effort to censor African American authors? Most importantly, why is a public school allowing itself to further silence the African American voice and experience? I hope the board is able to take into account the concerted efforts of our educational community to protect both parent choice and student choice. I hope this board considers the impact it will have on all of our students when making decisions about what works will be included or excluded in our curriculum and what those decisions implicitly say about the communities they have voted to include or exclude. There are good policies in place to allow for parent choice. Parents and teachers will perhaps need to have more candid discussions about how these works help our students. Why don't we let those policies, sorry.
Go ahead.
Why don't we let those policies work in favor for all stakeholders without resorting to censorship of voices of color because our kids are watching? Thank you for your time. Esmeralda Perez Schreiner. And that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Joanne. And again, Joanne, thank you for reading these at each meeting. I know it's hard, so. Item 3.0, our administrative presentation. Item 3.1, Assistant Superintendent, Mr. Jensen, and Mike Williams.
Well, good evening, President Haro, members of the board, and executive cabinet, and our online guests. We also have with us this evening Mike Williams from Columbia Capital, our financial advisor on our bonds. So he will give you a presentation this evening about the bonding capacity and the potential for an additional bond issue. And with us also tonight is Mr. Owen Chang, our Director of Facilities. So I'll turn the time over to Mr. Williams and Mr. Chang.
Okay. Should I go ahead, Owen, or?
I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. Please proceed.
Very good. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, board members, Superintendent Miranda, district staff, and members of the public. Yeah, my name is Michael Williams. I'm the financial advisor for the district. And the presentation I have for you tonight is about your general obligation bonding capacity, which is just a fancy way of saying how much money can we get for projects. So if you advance the slide, please. Okay, so just an overview. Fulton Joint Unified School District voters approved 2 bond issues by election. The first one was the election of 2001, and they authorized $102 million in general obligation bonds. And as you can see there, we had 3 series of bonds that totaled the $102 million. So there are no additional dollars that can be borrowed from that election. Then 7 years later, we had the election of 2008, and the voters approved authorization for $225 million. And that election was under Prop 39, which instead of requiring a supermajority, 2/3 vote, this one had a lower threshold. It was a 55% voter approval. And the district has issued 4 series of bonds. And the remaining authorization is $97.5 million. And you could borrow that amount, but it's subject to the restrictions under both Prop 39 and the Education Code limitations that will be discussed on the next page. Okay, so there are several limiting factors on when and how much debt can be issued. And the first threshold is the education code. And the education code limits the total amount of the loan outstanding. So the total amount of GO bonds that remain outstanding. In the calculation, they take the assessed valuation for all property in the district and multiply that by 2.5%. So on the first line, you'll see, first bullet point, the district assessed valuation is $11.5 billion, and 2.5% of that is $288 million. So then we have to subtract out what's currently outstanding. And so we have some debt still outstanding that hasn't been fully repaid yet, and that's about $58 million. And then we also have currently outstanding from the 2008 election, about 118 million. So that gives a additional bonding capacity for education code purposes of $112 million. As we saw on the previous page, the only remaining authorization is $97 million from the 2008 election. So we have voter approved amount of debt. The election of 2001 was 102, and the election of 2008 was 225 million. So as I said before, there's no more authorization under the election of 2001. So then we look to what limitations there might be on the election of 2008. As I mentioned, Prop 39 only requires a 55% vote, but it does have a limit on the annual debt service and the impact on the tax levy. So the maximum annual debt service is limited to $60 per $100,000 of property assessed valuation. And the bonding capacity is, how much can be borrowed, and that's determined by the debt service on the bonds that are currently outstanding. On the prior page, we had Series A, B, C, and D for Prop 39, the 2008 election. So we have to take into account what the debt service on those bonds are. And then another part of the calculation is what our assumption is for future increases in assessed valuation. Change slide, please. So this graphic basically shows you what the debt service looks like. So when we issued Series A and B, we've already refunded some of those because of lower interest rates. So that's the kind of a tan colored line there. And then the Series C is the bright green color. The Series D is a kind of a light green, and the Series D is kind of a bluish color. So we have all these debt payments that we're making at the same time. So when you stack those up, and then you take a look at what the impact is for $100,000 of assessed valuation, you can see in most of the future years, except for 2027, we're at $55 per 100,000. So our bonding capacity is the difference between what's outstanding and the $60. So it's about $5 per 100,000 for each of those years. Okay, advance the slide, please. So just to give you an example, what does that mean, $60 per 100,000? So this example here is actually a property that I own in Ritchie Canyon, which is within the district. So I took the information off my property tax bill, and at the top in the middle there you can see it says assessed valuation for 2019, 2020. So the treasurer tax collector has not sent out the property tax bills yet for the 2020-21 year. But as of last year, you can see what my assessed valuation is. So there's $77,000 for land, $221,000 for improvements. So that would be the house. Then you see the homeowner's exemption, which is a $7,000 deduction if you happen to live in that property. If you rent it out, then you don't get that deduction. So we add all that, and we come up with a net value of $292,000. Okay. And then below that, we have what the breakdown of the dollar amounts for my property tax bill are. So first of all, we have the general tax levy. So that's just 1% of that $292,338. So if you move the decimal over a couple places, you'll see that matches right up. There's a couple other things on the tax bill. Vector control for the city of Colton, landscape and lighting district, Colton stormwater, San Bernardino Community College bond issue. So the Colton School District boundaries are in the same area as the community college. And so my property tax portion for the community college is $164. And then the next line is a combination of both the election of 2001 and 2008. So last year, my property tax for the Colton GO bonds was $297.01. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to split out and show you an example of what my property tax bill for the election of 2008 would be if we were using last year's assessed valuation. So in the yellow block there, if you look on the right-hand side, it says election of 2008, $55 per 100,000, okay? So if we just left everything alone, because right now we're at $55 per 100,000, my property tax bill for the election of 2008 would be rounded up $161. So if that went up by $5 to $60 per 100,000, my property tax for the Colton bond issues would be $175. So we're talking basically about $15 a year. So that's what the impact on my property tax bill. Okay, if you advance the slide.
Mr. Williams, we need to pause for a moment to switch our sign language interpreters.
Okay.
You may continue, sir.
Okay. Advance the slide, please. Okay, so and now for the reveal. The estimated proceeds for a 2020 general obligation bond issue. So based on current very low tax exempt interest rates, our analysis shows that the district could borrow about $16 million for projects. So this estimate is based on the district's current credit rating of A+, with AAA being the highest, current tax exempt interest rates as of last week. And I just may add that it seems like every day interest rates are going lower and lower for municipal bonds. A lot of that has to do with the economy now with coronavirus and so forth. And some of it is tax driven, income tax. California is a high income tax state, and there's a big demand from investors to receive interest that they don't have to pay any income tax. And there's also a flight to quality. The stock, we've had some big moves over the past 3 or 4 months in the stock market. So investors are willing to accept a lower return on their money for the certainty that they're going to be repaid and that there's not going to be, volatility, in what they're going to receive as there is in the stock market. So the amount of the bond proceeds that would be available are only estimates at this time because, we don't know in the future, in the next, 3 or 4 months, what interest rates are going to be. They could actually be lower or they could, be higher. So we don't know. If interest rates increase, then bond proceeds will decline because basically what we have to pay back is principal and interest. And so if interest declines, then we have the ability to borrow more money to pay back more principal. And if interest rates increase, as I just said, the bond proceeds can increase. So tax-exempt interest rates, as I mentioned, are at historic lows due to recent tax law change in 2018. And I think as many homeowners know, there was a change in the tax law that limited the deduction of state and local taxes. And so that had to do with the payment of state income tax and also property taxes. That's limited to $10,000. So that's another reason why there's a demand for tax-exempt interest. And, that could change. We have an election in November. We don't know if there's going to be, a change in tax law, and also economic factors could change at any time. But that's our estimate as of today with the best information that we have. So if you change the slide, please. So I think now would be a time to take questions from board members or staff if they had any, and then I could talk about the recommendation.
Do any board members have any questions of Mr. Williams?
I do, Board Member Harrell. This is Dan.
Okay.
Board President Harrell. Thank you. Mike, first of all, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. It's been a little while. It's good to hear from you.
I am. Thank you.
Good, good. You gave a great presentation. Just a couple of points of clarification I think are key for me, and I think our board and folks that are watching. First of all, you're right. It's a great time to borrow money because interest rates are at an all-time low. But that also means on the flip side for investors, there's a little more uncertainty. So our bond proceeds look pretty good. With respect to the actual impact to the taxpayers, I think this is key, given the uncertain times that we are in. Some people are facing financial hardships with either loss of work or reduction in hours at work because of COVID. Can you explain, and you did a great job showing your own tax bill, which I thought was fantastic. One advantage to doing this from home is I'm actually in my home office, so I was able to pull my own tax bill and look at the same things right through it. If we could clarify for folks that if we do proceed with this additional recommended bonding capacity that we have to issue those bonds, it doesn't necessarily mean a greater burden on the individual taxpayer per se, because of the limits that we already have set on that 60 per 100,000 or 55 per 100,000. As their tax bill goes, as their assessed valuation goes up, as it has historically for several years now in a row, they're paying that typically close to that cap, and so it'll continue to go along that trend and not necessarily see a huge jump in their individual property tax. Is that correct?
Yes, your assessed value can only increase 2% per year under Prop 13.
Correct.
But as you point out, there are some other factors that are involved, and I think Owen and Rick Jensen sent a one-page of information about assessed valuation for all the single-family residences in the district, with a breakdown with some very good information there. So it's one thing for me to talk about my home, but what is the average person in the district? What's their assessed value? And before I get to that, I should finish up with your point about what things could ease the burden on somebody that's a homeowner in our district. And one of those things is that that the one-page handout, it shows that actually half of the people in the district that are single-family residential property owners, the median value, so half of the people are above this and half are below. The median assessed value is $219,000. Okay, so that means that $60 per 100 is $131 a year. Okay, so what could change? Well, every time a house is sold, it's with these low values, it's pretty much a certainty that the assessed value for the new owner is going to go up, and therefore that's going to ease the burden on those people that stay in their home, because their home is only going to go up 2% per year. For example, my youngest son and his wife purchased the home right next to Cooley Elementary, and their purchase price was higher than my assessed value. Everybody that comes in and is buying at these, the higher market values, that takes the burden and spreads the, the tax burden on higher properties. The other thing is, to the extent that people make improvements to their property, maybe they do a room addition, all that would, increase the value. But what would really help as far as broadening the tax burden would be for any new construction in the district. And that would include commercial, industrial, if new housing developments are built. So that spreads out the tax burden on more taxpayers. So that would also, lower, like the current is like $55 per 100,000. So if we had a bunch of new construction and people that bought existing homes, that would also kind of lower that. So did I cover that adequately? Or
you did. No, you did. And I think we just wanted to convey that there's still those protections in place for homeowners, because none of us in this difficult time want to overburden taxpayers or folks that may already be experiencing financial hardships. This wouldn't be a huge shift. What it could do, though, is create obviously some opportunities for us to take advantage of improvements, construction, renovation in the district that's sorely needed. Can I ask another question? This is more of a what if scenario. Obviously, on the November ballot, they have the Prop 15, schools and communities first, split roll, is on the ballot. I've read through that legislation. I think I have a pretty good handle on some of it, but what, if anything, would that do? Obviously, that would reassess all commercial industrial properties that are valued at $3 million or more, or it could be $3 million and below. You might be protected, and above $3 million. The threshold is either $3 million or $3 million and one. But anyway, they're talking about reassessing those periodically every 3 years at market value. So there literally would be, I don't know, hundreds of millions of dollars of increased assessed valuation that gets flooded into the state of California, certainly within counties. The money that the state collects, or a portion of that, a significant portion, is supposed to go directly to schools. But what does that do to our bonding formula when we have all of these properties all of a sudden have substantially increased assessed valuation?
Okay.
If passed, of course, that's the caveat.
Right. Right. Well, the thing is, I mean, it's going to help the schools, as you say, the property tax goes to the state, and then it's distributed to the school districts, the non-basic aid school districts. But, directly to your point, I mentioned before, to the extent a property is sold and it had a lower assessed value and now gets reappraised at a higher value, market value, if that passes, then that would increase the bonding capacity. What you're doing is you're increasing your assessed value. I think it was on the second page of the handout. The assessed valuation of the district is like $11.5 billion. So if there was, I don't know what the breakdown of industrial properties and what those assessed values are. I don't have that information with me, but anything that increases assessed valuation is going to spread that burden out, and basically for the people that stay in their homes, that's going to lower the burden on them.
Okay.
So
that
that's a plus.
change.
Right.
Yeah, that could be a big change for the positive for the district and our ability to bond.
Right.
Future. Okay. Last question, or at least with respect to the recommendation that's on the presentation currently. Last time we went through this process, we did get a list of projects. Dr. Miranda, I would like to ask if that's something that can be done, if the board is so inclined. It's been a little while since we kind of went through that master list of projects that we have lined up that we could utilize this funding for. So if we could get a list from our team at the district, Mr. Owen, if your team could put together the project list and we can identify priorities, because obviously we're going to have more need than funding. And I think it would be great for this board to do what we've done in the past, is look at those projects and then prioritize them from top to bottom. So we start with the projects that are most important to us in the community and make sure those get done first.
Owen, I don't know if you want to address that, but let me talk a little bit about that, and you could jump in, Owen, to Mr. Flores's question here. We do plan on, if we get direction from the board to move forward with this, then we will definitely put together that list. We do still have our facilities master plan. We still have some projects on there that certainly we prioritize. We can bring that back for the board to give us direction, and we can prioritize. I'll just say that because of the leadership of the board and Owen Chang, our director, we've been able to complete quite a bit of those projects. So it'd be a great time to come back to the board and show all those completions and where we're at. So anything you want to add, Owen?
No, definitely. That's we've last time the board priority list was created back in 2015, I believe, and we pretty much completed all the project with the exception of one that we're still it's ongoing. But yeah, this would be a great timing opportunity to revisit that with the and get direction from the board. We have the master plan, as Dr. Miranda mentioned, and also other things have developed that we wanted to bring to the board's attention, to consider, such as the CTE grant that we're applying to the state with potential match of $3 million. And so there's been a little bit delayed due to COVID in terms of the state allocation and decision on that, but we're hoping to hear a decision on that in September from the state. So that, amongst in conjunction with other things that kind of came up over the past couple of years, and with recent proposed development in the Grand Terrace area, and looking at those developments and what those impacts are on the facilities, those are definitely something we would like to present to the board and get further directions on.
Great, thank you. That's all I have. Appreciate it. Great presentation.
Do any board members have any further questions? So I think, Dr. Miranda, maybe we need to possibly come up with some dates, maybe for a special board meeting to set up to decide the priority list, to look at what we have on that priority list, and to develop a new priority list. Then it sounds like.
Okay, sure, and we can bring back at the next board meeting if the board pleases the board some dates to do so. That gives us staff time to prepare for that, and so we can move forward with that. So
Okay,
certainly.
that sounds.
Sorry, one more question, if I may, Board President Haro.
Yes, of course.
Just because timing matters. So, Mike, where are we with respect to needing to move on the issuance of the bonds? You're right, timing is really important. I certainly would be supportive. We know that we need the money. We know that we'll have it available, and we can get that moving perhaps while we work on a priority list. I just don't want to miss the window of opportunity that you shared with us. It's really a great time to go out to bond.
Yeah, I had a discussion earlier in the week with Rick Jensen and Owen, and probably from the time that the board said, we want to go ahead with this financing and assemble the team and start on this, it's going to take between 45 and 90 days. So, I don't see anything on the immediate horizon that's going to make interest rates go up. The Federal Reserve Board is, doing everything they can to keep interest rates down. I think everybody has seen, if you read the financial page or you see all the advertisements for mortgage rates in the 2% range now for even 30-year mortgages. So I don't think anything's going to change real quickly, but of course, it's kind of a bird in the hand thing. We should, if the board decides that they would like to proceed with this, then probably the sooner the better, because if we're ready to go, we can always wait. But if we're not ready and we have an opportunity to lock in some really low rates, it's better to be ready and to be able to wait than to kind of be behind. So.
That we could get today, Dr. Miranda, with consensus of the board. Obviously, they'll need to bring back any actionable items, but can we give that direction today if there's consensus?
Yeah, absolutely. If I can get direction and consensus for the board to move forward with going out and assembling the team, and so that we can go out to sell the bonds, we can get that today. That'd be, I think, the first step, and then we can come back with the special workshop with the list of priorities.
I'm good with that's Israel.
So, Owen, that's what we're looking for today. Rick, we're looking for direction from the board so that we can go out and actually go out and start the process so that we can sell these bonds. Is that correct?
What?
Yes, that's correct. If the board wishes to do so, definitely that would definitely help in the planning of the projects and moving some of the projects forward.
I'm sorry, I'm still not clear as far as what we are we are agreeing to today.
It's the board giving us consensus, Ms. Adegin, permission to go out and assemble a team so that there's $16 million that are available for us to sell out in the market, the bonds that we're able to sell out. And so in order to do that, we need permission, direction from the board to do so, to assemble a team. It's I think Mike said it takes 45 to 90 days to get everything ready, then to go out to the actual market to sell that. So it's an opportunity right now that we're presented with, and then if the board gives us consent permission today, then we can start that process, and then at a special board meeting, we'll come back and get direction from the board of the list of projects that we're looking at, and then get direction on what those or which projects we should start with and prioritize those projects. So I think hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you for
Great.
clarifying.
And Dr. Miranda, one thing I'd like to say for board members is that you're just allowing your staff and the finance team to start the process. There will be several approvals that the board will make along the way. So
Okay.
just saying you guys can start, but that's not saying that we never have to go back to you to get approvals and to get more information about where we are and further updates.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay.
Does
Thanks, Mike.
the board have any other questions?
No.
Okay, so the district is asking for consensus from the board to move forward with looking into the sale of the bonds. Is there any further questions?
I'm good with doing that, so.
I'm good
Any
with it getting started so we can get
Okay.
the information.
Okay,
Same here, Joanna.
okay.
Same here.
And,
Again.
okay, and Ms. Sandoval?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, okay, so we have our consensus to go move further and to get information about selling the bonds.
And thank you, Board President, and thank you, Mike, for the presentation, for clarifying that we do have to come back to the board for approvals, and so that's that. I'm sure that the board would love to hear that piece and come back and would come back and obviously update the board of where we're at in the process. It takes a little bit, but it's going to be an opportunity. I think that really would be. It's going to be great for some things that we can do with improve our facilities. Anyways, okay. So thank you, Board President, and thank you, Mike and Owen, and for that presentation.
Thank you very much to both of you gentlemen.
All right. Thank you.
Moving on to 3.2, our budget update. Assistant Superintendent Jensen.
Mr. Jensen, if we could pause here to switch our, Mr. Jensen, may we pause here to switch our sign language interpreters, please?
No problem.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shane.
You're all set, sir.
All right, great. Well, welcome again. Good evening, President Haro, Superintendent Miranda, our board members, and our online audience. This evening, for our board update, we are focusing on the 45-day revision that is required whenever the state legislature submits their version of the budget to the governor, and then the governor signs the budget act. So after 45 days, which I believe was August 13th this year, we are to present the information regarding those revisions that have to be made to the budget as a result of passing that act. So what you have before you is the revision as outlined. And to present this information, I would like to introduce our new Director of Fiscal Services, Risk Management and Health Benefits, Miranda Sarabia. So I'll turn over the time to her and I'll make comments as necessary throughout.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Good evening, President Haro, board members, Superintendent Miranda, Executive Cabinet, staff members, and community members. It is my pleasure to be here tonight and share with you the revisions to the budget. On June 29th, 2020, Governor Newsom signed the state budget into law, which rejected the deep cuts to the local control funding formula that were seen in the May revision and replaced them with large apportionment deferrals. There is a possibility that the deferrals may be reduced by half if more federal aid becomes available. The major difference in the budget is the increase in COLA from a negative 10% to 0%. resulting in 18,154,176 in funding retained for the district. Another change is the extension of the hold harmless for ADA, which allows the district to use 1920 ADA for the 2021 school year. This is good news for the district given that we are in declining enrollment. The state budget also granted one-time learning loss mitigation funds through the Federal CARES Act, which provides the district with an additional $13,835,217 in restricted funds to support academic achievement and mitigate learning loss related to COVID-19 school closures. The revised budget also includes corrections to the revenue projections for lottery and special education. Lottery was recalculated using ADA figures instead of enrollment figures that were initially used, resulting in a decrease of 97,466. This correction is in line with the county's recommendation for using ADA to calculate lottery revenue. Special education funds were also adjusted to reflect the decline in 1920 ADA, resulting in a decrease of 606,532. Overall, the net increase in revenues for the district is 31,285,395. Although this is great news for fiscal year 2021, it is important to note that the learning loss mitigation funds are one-time restricted funds. Also, given the great deal of fiscal uncertainty that remains, it is important to be conservative throughout the year and continue to work towards maintaining an adequate fund balance. This will better equip the district to handle future deferrals and any budgetary shortfalls that may present themselves in the years to come. Thank you for your time, and at this moment, I'd like to open for any questions you may have.
Does the board have any questions regarding our budget?
No.
Seeing no questions, thank you and welcome to Colton, Maria Amanda.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I look forward to meeting you in person when the opportunity arises.
We're happy to have you.
Thank you.
We are moving on to 4.0, our action session, action items. We have 23 items. I'm sorry, I apologize. I missed one. I apologize. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Item 3.3, the updated process for our secondary reading list and alternative assignments, our Ed Services Department. Dr. Peterson, please.
President Haro, I'm actually going to turn this over to Dr. Eric Mooney, our Director of Secondary Educational Service, and I want to thank him and his team for all the work they've done on this process. Go ahead, Dr. Mooney.
Thank you, Dr. Peterson. Good evening, Board President Haro, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. Miranda, Executive Cabinet, and members of the audience. Tonight, I present to the Board an update on the secondary core and extended reading list process and alternate assignment selection process, specifically for English at the secondary level. At the end of the presentation, there will be an opportunity for questions. Next slide. In collaboration with the secondary English department leads, Educational Services Curriculum Program Specialist, Director of Secondary Education, and the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, each of the two main topics was discussed in detail. For the process of book approvals, this included but not limited to discussions relating to age, grade, course alignment of titles on the core and extended reading list, the process for how titles are added to the core and extended reading list, and the alignment of these processes to Board Policy 6141 and Board Policy 0415. For alternate assignments, our discussions included the distribution of a parental notification letter for all secondary English teachers, the inclusion of specific language on the course syllabus, ongoing support for teachers and teacher collaboration, and the alignment to Administrative Regulation 1312.2. Next slide. So first, I'll cover the core and extended reading list approval process. Next slide, please. For a title to be added to the secondary core and extended reading list, it first must be vetted by a representative group of certificated staff and interested stakeholders. This committee serves as a subcommittee to the Secondary Curriculum Council. One change to the process was around the vetting process timeline. Normally, the process would take place once a year. However, this past year, we had over 100 titles recommended for review, and it was decided by the committee that we would increase the number of vetting cycles to accommodate the demand. All steps to the process would remain intact. So after a title is requested, a team is assembled for a specific title. Each team member reads the assigned title by a date determined by the committee. Each member prepares responses to a selection criteria notes for each title before the team reconvenes. Some sample requested notes are the overall purpose or theme of the book, educational significance and/or contribution to the curriculum, importance of the subject matter, readability, and the degree of potential user appeal. Other considerations for the team members are, does the work broaden students' understanding of social, historical, geographical, and/or cultural diversity? Does the work elicit personal, thoughtful, critical responses, and much, much more? The team then reconvenes to discuss the title and prepare recommendations using a consensus model. The team discusses with the committee, who in turn presents their recommendations to the Secondary Curriculum Council for further consideration. After approval by the Secondary Curriculum Council, the titles are then recommended to the Board of Education for approval. As for parent recruitment, and per the recommendation of the Board of Education, the Secondary Curriculum Council and Reading List Committee did outreach to be more inclusive of parents, community members, and students in the process. This effort yielded 59 total participants for this year, 4 community members, 52 parents of students, and 3 students. All of our secondary sites are represented in these numbers. Next slide. Some major considerations were the newly adopted equity policy approved back in February of 2020 that supports the adoption of curriculum and instruction materials that accurately reflect diversity among student groups. In addition, the group felt that the recruitment efforts were supported by Board Policy 6141 to ensure that curriculum development and evaluation processes included input from parents and guardians. The Educational Service Division also reached out to parents who requested additional information about particular titles and have invited those parents to the upcoming Secondary Curriculum Council meeting to be held on August 11th, where the reading list will be discussed and voted on. On August 20th, the Secondary Curriculum Council will send to the Board of Education the updated core and extended reading list as an action item for your consideration. Next slide, please. Next, I will discuss the changes made to the alternate assignment process. I would like to note that no changes were made to the policy, the board policy that governs the alternate assignments, just the process. Next slide. So first, the parent notification letter. This letter was brought to my attention by our English department leads as one that was shared with advanced placement students at one of our high schools. After careful consideration and minor revisions, it was decided that this letter would be provided to all secondary students in their English classes. In addition to the parent notification letter, English teachers would include similar language on their course syllabus, indicating book titles to be covered during the year. If a book has been challenged, the syllabus would indicate an alternate selection is available. Much discussion was had with our English department chairs about this process. The district level curriculum program specialist for ELA has worked with our site teachers on a special assignment or for English language arts and department leads to curate the alternate title list. In the event of a request, teachers would provide parents during a parent meeting options from the list. In speaking with both parents and teachers regarding this practice, it was mutually agreed that the parent meeting and collaboration was a vital part of the process and should not be overlooked. Next slide. Some considerations were the existing administrative regulation 1312.2 that outlines the complaint process and timelines. Additionally, the ongoing support from Educational Services Division to teachers in reviewing the curriculum alternative plans from the Springboard and Study Sync curriculum adoption materials as needed. Next slide. So I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the Educational Services 712 team, our secondary English teachers, and our parent, student, and community volunteers for all of their support and collaboration in making our processes stronger for the benefit of all of our students. Additionally, I would like to thank the Executive Cabinet and the Board of Education for your leadership and guidance with an equity lens. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Okay, so I'd like to ask the board if they have any questions on Dr. Mooney's presentation, any comments?
I do. This is Joanne.
Okay. Okay, Joanne?
Okay. Dr. Mooney, thank you for that presentation. It was, I can tell a great deal of effort has been put into this process, and I'm grateful for that. My one concern that I didn't hear or see when I read through the materials, I know parents are going to be given a selection, an opportunity to select an alternative book. I don't see anywhere written that that student will remain in the classroom. I know it's theme-based, will remain in the classroom, will not be singled out in any way for not reading the same book. And how will they be graded if they're reading a separate book and they're the only student? Was that discussed?
Yes, that was discussed in much detail. And that's part of the process, is that with the English language arts curriculum program specialists here at the district office and working with our department leads, those alternative plans and those titles, the teacher would be working with those students in the classroom with those alternate titles. So they wouldn't necessarily have to be removed from the classroom setting if they're still doing an alternate assignment.
But you said they wouldn't necessarily have to be. My question is, are there going to be cases where they will be sent out?
That would be part of the collaboration with the parent and the teacher. That'd be part of that discussion. If there were certain items that they just didn't want their student to engage in, and that type of discussion. But that would be something that where we say that parent meeting is very vital to the process, and that collaboration between the parent and the teacher. That's where those types of decisions would be made in that format.
Okay, and then each teacher is responsible for sending that letter to parents and getting that information back and collected so that we have that on file. Should there be an incident, we would have that as backup, that parents requested this and that those considerations had been discussed with parents. Is that correct?
Yes, all secondary teachers were administering or providing those notifications to their students and to the parents.
And they would be self-monitoring then of that process.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you for all this hard work. I actually read the book and I thought it was an amazing book. It had nothing to do with the author. It had everything to do with children not being ready for the materials, some children, and making sure that those children weren't singled out because they weren't there yet. So thank you. I really appreciate this, and I think it will be really good for kids and for the entire language arts department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any further questions?
I do. I would just like to comment that not only are the board policies aligned and you know where they should be now, but also this is also aligned with the state frameworks that indicate that we need to have these literature books available in our schools. How is this information going to be disseminated to the schools, to the staff, so that everybody is aware of the process?
So we've worked with our department leads at the site level, and our site TOAs have been a big part of the conversation. And we'll also be having this conversation at our Secondary Curriculum Council, our upcoming one for the year, to just kind of remind our staffs and our teachers of these processes. But this has already been shared with our English departments.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Mooney. And I want to thank you and your committee for all the work that went into this. And thank you for clarifying step by step the process that got us where we're at today. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any further questions from any board members?
I have a comment. This is Frank.
Okay, Mr. Ibarra, and then I don't know who was next. Israel?
Yes.
You'll be next. You'll be next.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Pat. First of all, I want to thank you, Dr. Mooney, for excellent presentation, and thank all those that were involved in the committee, teachers and parents, for their work and interest in making our selection of our reading selections appropriate and better prepared for our students. My comment is just basically, I just want to thank you for bringing in, because I spoke with Dr. Miranda and he had mentioned that you brought in some of the concerning parents having to do with some of the books that were on the list. And I was good, happy to hear that, and that you were able to bring them in so that you could work with them, talk with them, collaborate with them, and they could have some kind of input to the whole process. So I want to say thank you again for that. Also, I had the same concern that Joanne had because of a couple parents who felt that their child was left out, but you explained the process, you explained that it was discussed, and I just want to make sure that there is some type of follow-up, and with the paperwork and the parental letter, I think it's going to be imperative that we communicate and follow up in something that in that fashion. So it sounds like you guys did a really good job in structuring this whole process. So I just want once again say thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Okay. Board member Fuentes.
Thank you, President Haro. Just a comment real quick. I think the two questions I had on my list were asked, the one Joanne and Bertha had, but just wanted to comment and say, Dr. Mooney, thank you. What a phenomenal presentation. I'm excited to see the updates that were done. I'm excited to see that you have more parents involved in this process, and that I think, like Mr. Ibarra said, I'm glad that you brought in those parents that had some major issues with some of the books and stuff like that. So I just wanted to comment and say thank you very much, and please let your team know on behalf of the board that we're excited and we're happy to see all the changes that were made. And that was my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments?
I have a couple of questions. That's all right.
Mr. Flores?
Stan, yeah. Dr. Mooney, thank you for the presentation. Just real quick, if you could walk us through then what the process will look like. Let's say a parent does have a concern. Does it start as simply as contacting the teacher, or is there a form that they'll fill out? The balance between, obviously there'll need to be a dialogue, but I think as Board Member Adegin referenced, having a record is also important. Or Board Member Thorne, I may mention that having a record is somewhat, I think, important as we look through that. So what would that look like in practical terms for a parent that may have a concern? What would be their first step, and then where would it go from there?
Yes, the first step actually definitely would start with the teacher. The teacher is going to be the one that's issuing that syllabus with those book titles. And that's happening again at the beginning, at the start of our school year. So parents are now aware of what those selections would be, and can start to prepare and plan. If there are any concerns, they can start having those conversations early, and it allows for that planning to help work on the end of the teacher as well. So if there are those concerns, they would definitely reach out to the teacher. They would have those conversations. I would say about 99% of the concerns usually get resolved at that level. However, if there are still some concerns, that there is your site administration that can also help to facilitate conversations and going through what the actual list is that have been curated by our English language arts team here at the district level, as well as working with our department leads and help them work through those conversations. And then that's where that district support would come in and be a part of that process. So that's what we kind of just taking it step by step. At the end, I think at the end route of this journey, if there are concerns, usually again, it will be handled and and addressed at the site level. But if there's definitely need for site support from the district office, we would be able to come in with the actual book list and the curated list that would be able to provide that additional support for those families.
And then as a follow-up question, this is a unique scenario that may not come up, but I feel compelled to ask just out of curiosity. What if we ran into a scenario where, let's say, a student personally felt uncomfortable with a piece of literature for a personal reason,
My question.
but perhaps didn't want to necessarily engage their parents in that conversation, but they themselves wanted to initiate that conversation with the teacher? Do we require parent consent and parent involvement if a student said, hey, I'd rather not involve my parents? I can think of a couple of scenarios, tough scenarios, where that may be a real life occurrence, where you may have a student, because of an incident or a relationship with a parent, may not necessarily want to engage them on this process. Would we still allow them to go through the alternate assignment process?
Absolutely, we would want them to work with their teachers, and I that would be near and dear to me. As you're speaking and you're saying that, I'm like thinking back to my own personal experiences and having a 10th grade teacher, Mrs. McLemore. I can call her by name. I can remember how she wore her hair and how she presented herself. So it was very impactful in my educational journey, and allowed me to be able to have that conversation with her in a one-on-one, and provide me still with alternatives that I think helped to make me the man that I am with respect to having access to literature that spoke to my lifestyle and spoke to me as a person.
And thank you for that, Dr. Mooney. Thank you for sharing that personal note, because that means a great deal to me, and I think all of us that know that our kids come from different backgrounds, different experiences, and it's hard enough being a teenager these days, and with the complexities that go along with it. And the more that we can work with our kids to help them grow and understand, not everybody comes from a traditional household, and I don't even know what a traditional household is these days, quite frankly. It's about embracing our students where they're at and supporting them where they're at. So I appreciate that flexibility to work with our kids. That's important. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Flores, for asking my question. So I don't have to, I got the answer that I wanted. I want to thank the Director Mooney and the Ed Services Department, the entire Ed Services Department, for this presentation. I feel, we needed to do this, and I know that this was quite an issue to be presented at the time. And because of the COVID situation and turning to the distance learning, we had to put it back a little bit to work on the presentation and to work on a solution that would work for all students. And I think this solution will help all of our students. And I want to just say thank you, because I know it was a lot of work to put this into motion to get everyone to agree. I also want to thank Curriculum Council. I think we really need to listen to what they have to say. When they have their comments, they need to be listened to, they need to be valued. That both being the parents who are a part of that Curriculum Council, as well as our teachers. There's a wealth of knowledge on both sides. So I thank you for including the parents on that council from now on. And I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. So if there's no further comments on item 3.3. Okay, seeing none again.
Miss Pep, sorry.
I'm sorry, you're cutting out. So who was it?
I just wanted to comment that, I also want to say thank you for involving the parents and for a great presentation on this.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Board Member Sandoval. Thank you, Dr. Mooney and Ed Services Department for the presentation. We appreciate it as a board. I know our teachers and I know that our parents also appreciate it. When we made the decision we made, it was not meant to offend anyone. It was not meant to hurt anyone. It was not meant to be taken in that way. And, you know, I'm the first to apologize for that. I felt we didn't have enough information, and I apologize for that. And I feel now we have enough information to make an informed vote. And we also have a process on which students should all be included. So again, my sincere thanks to you for all your hard work on this. Seeing no other comments, we will move on to our 4.0, our action session, action items.
Mrs. Haro, can we pause to switch translators, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. All set, thank you.
Thank you. We have action items 4.1 through 4.23. Are there any that a board member would like to have pulled separately? Okay, seeing no one. Do I have a motion to approve action items 4.1 through 4.23?
So moved. Loring.
I'll second that, Israel.
Okay. I have a motion by Board Member Thoring Hojeda and a second by Board Member Fuentes to approve action items 4.1 through 4.23 as presented. Are there any questions on any items 4.1 through 4.23? Okay, seeing none. Joanne, would you like to call a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Mr. Ibarra?
Yes.
Ms. Haro?
Yes.
Mr. Flores?
Yes.
Ms. Doreen Ojeda?
Yes.
Ms. Sandoval?
Yes.
Mr. Fuentes?
Yes.
Ms. Arriguit?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. On a motion by Board Member Thoring Ojeda and a second by Board Member Fuentes and carried on a 7-0 vote, the board approved action items 4.1 through 4.23. Moving on to 5.0, our administrative reports. Item 5.1, approved disbursements. Are there any questions on 5.1? Seeing none. Moving on, 5.2, results of the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools Williams Settlement Visit for the fourth quarter 2019-2020. Are there any questions or comments on item 5.2? Seeing none, moving on. Item 5.3, the approved change order for the Colton Middle School cafeteria multi-purpose room project per board resolution number 20-57. Are there any questions or comments regarding item 5.3? Seeing none, moving on. Item 5.4, approved change order for the Colton High School cafeteria multi-purpose room project per board resolution number 20-57. Are there any comments or concerns on item number 5.4? Seeing none, moving on. Item 5.5, we have no facilities update this evening. Item 5.6, we had our budget presentation at the beginning of the board meeting. Item 5.7, ACE President, Ms. Christina Parachi.
Hello, esteemed board members, Superintendent Miranda, cabinet members, and members of the audience. My name is Christina Parachi, and I have the privilege to serve as the president for the Association of Colton Educators. Our first day of school came and went. It was not a smooth day or a week for that matter. Although the district staff and many certificated employees did not stop working during the summer For many reasons, the first 2 school days for 2021 have been very stressful, frustrating, and I could go on with adjectives that are not appropriate to use in this environment for everyone, including the community. You've heard some comments, and I'm sure you received phone calls and emails from frustrated parents. Although not everyone's experience has been negative, you generally probably hear only the negative ones. We want you to know that teachers are in the front line receiving the angry comments and having to deal with frustrated parents, crying kids, and frustrated kids. More than ever, the parents need reassurance and an explanation of why this happened and how it would be remedied. The teachers need reassurance and encouragement since this was not under their control and it's not something that they can fix. Although I am not looking to point a finger at anyone, parents need to know that if their experience was negative during the first 2 school days, that is not reflective of the ability or experience of our teacher, but it is circumstantial. The teachers' movement is pretty substantial this year, and there are some adjustments to the new way of doing things in education. So we would like to ask the administration to be patient and to be there to support our staff, encourage, and listen. The first and most important thing at this point should be the mental health of our staff and students. Teachers need time to connect with their students, to get familiar with their new grade level. So I would like to see that some of the demands the administration is putting at some of the school sites to be minimal or extended deadlines. Example, 5 days of less sub-plans. It's really difficult to do when you just have a grade level reassigned. Engagement reporting, back to school night, and so many other examples that teacher can give you. ACE bargaining team and district personnel worked around the clock to finish the distance learning MOU. The association had a webinar to explain the MOU, and we had close to 500 members attending the meeting. We received over 350 questions, which were answered and posted on acecolton.com. We want to acknowledge Shane Pinnell for his support in setting up the meeting and guiding the bargaining team during the webinar. We understand that Shane did not have to do this, but he did. So thanks, Shane. The MOU was done under a lot of time pressure. It's not perfect, and we might have to meet a few times to change some things, but that was not a problem. ACE, together with the district, is still working and trying to navigate the SB 98, AB 77, the trailer requirements for attendance, evidence of participation in online activities, and or completion of regular assignments, assessment, and or contacts between employees of the district and pupils or parents or guardian, and also re-engagement. That's a lot. I am here asking that since this new mandate is not required by the state to be enacted immediately, with the exception of attendance, to allow more time to work with the district to improve a very involved and time-consuming process and to make it a little bit easier to navigate and less time-consuming. Many certificated staff, the ACE Executive Board and bargaining team have been willing to meet and work many days during the summer. The dedication and collaboration that our certificated staff showed during the summer to work together with the dedicated district staff is commendable. Our staff would like to start working from the classroom. According to Mr. Jensen at the last board meeting, only 50% of the schools are ready and deep cleaned. The rest of the school will take 7 weeks to be deep cleaned. That means mid-September. Can that be done a little faster? Also, can the teachers use the schools that have been deep cleaned at this time? We ask the board and administration that although grades, attendance, curriculum are important, we all need to remember that the social and emotional health of our staff and students should be our first priority. This is new to all of us, and the first thing that teachers need to do in the first few days is to connect to the students and their family. As Dr. Peterson and Ms. Corridan mentioned at the last board meeting, grace and patience. I am here to ask the district and the board to please be patient and understanding, as this is really hard on our staff, and we need you to be our biggest supporter. I may even go to say cheerleader during this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parachi, for your comments. Yikes. Moving on to 5.A, our CSEA update. We have no update this evening, correct, Joanne?
Yes, you're correct. No update.
Okay. 5.9, MAC update, we have no update. And 5.10, we have no ROP update as we have not had a meeting. Moving on to 6.0, 6.1, our superintendent's communique. Dr. Miranda.
Thank you, Board President, board members, and community, executive cabinet, everybody's out there. I want to take this opportunity to welcome everybody back to our first day of school, which started just yesterday. And this was not your typical start. Certainly, we wanted all our students back on campus. However, with the mandates that the state has put on regarding distance learning and putting the safety of our students first, we need to start with our virtual learning. And and as Ms. Parachi stated, definitely there was quite a bit of challenges out there. Staff has been working around the clock to address all those challenges and issues, and IT has I just got to, again, just commend them for the work that they're doing. So with that, I just want to say that I have extreme confidence in our teachers. I've said this before. My wife's a first grade teacher, and I've seen it live, the challenges that she is facing here at home. And I can't even imagine the stress the teachers are out there. I know that our teachers are so resilient and they're there for our kids. Our administration, they've gone over above and beyond just working. I know some of them almost 24 hours a day to try to get our kids with the teachers and support the staff. The support staff, our CSEA classified folks, all of you that have been out there in the front lines, I just appreciate all of you. And again, we're doing, I think, incredible to address the concerns that arise. And I just, every single day cabinet comes together to try to address everything. Of course, with that, as people have stated, patience, graciousness is needed from definitely our parents. I want to thank you, parents, students, teachers, the community, as we navigate through these challenges in this new learning environment. And we are together as a family, as a team. And it's been said before, Colton Unified is more like a family. So a family comes together during these challenges. And so I'm really proud of all of you that are out there working with the students, the families. And as we will get through this in time, and we will ensure that all our students have the best learning environment possible because that's our priority, what's best for kids. And so we want our students back in the classrooms. We want our teachers back in the classrooms, and we're working to get them back. So I also want to shout out to all the students. I sent a Flipgrid out welcoming them back and asking them how they spent their summer. So thank you, students, for I wanted to get out there to the school sites. Obviously, it would have been awesome to see you at the school sites first day of school, but instead I sent a Flipgrid. Thank you for your responses, and I really appreciate all of you. They've been so awesome. Again, we're all in this together, and this is going to be a great year, even through the challenges. I look forward to coming back when we transition to the hybrid model or in person. So hang in there, everybody, and welcome back. We will smooth this out and get through this. Next slide. So I am just extremely excited about this. Initially, when I started at the beginning with my entry plan, I did start with community meetings. I will continue those community meetings, but of course we're in a virtual environment. So I will be hosting these coming soon. The first meeting that will be in fall, and then we'll do one in winter, and then again in springtime. And what I really want to do is have really address what's going on at the state and the district level, and really share the state of the district, and just keep the community up to date and informed, and share any pertinent information to our parents and all our community. So please stay tuned for those dates. We're working on those, but again, we'll have one so 3 times a year, or 3 times this year, school year, fall, winter, and spring. And look forward to seeing all of you virtually and just hosting those. The next one is, next slide, please. So our virtual college and career fair, unfortunately this year, we're not able to have a in-person event as we usually do over here at the Gonzalez Center in Colton, the city of Colton. And you could see the picture there with the amount of students, parents, community members that participate in this. We have colleges, Jackie Paul and Katie Orloff, our communications department, just do an incredible job of putting this together. So we're going to be doing it virtual. And it's going to be our 5th annual college and career fair virtually. So what we're doing is, or what Jackie's doing, is putting on an online platform that provides a unique opportunity to reach out to our students and families who will be able to access this information at any time. And then they will be able to refer back to the information throughout the year. So we have communication people that are going to be working, our communication team. They've created this resource page for our parents, for our students, and it's information regarding college admissions, financial aid, career pathways, and a lot more there. The website will be shared via social media soon, and will be updated often. So please look out for that. And I know that seniors and, well, even kindergartners start thinking about college and start thinking about, so jump on there, parents. And when we get that out, it's going to be a lot of great information. And the great thing is going to be available throughout the whole year. So the last thing I want to talk about is another special board meeting. So we can get to the next slide. So, so as noted in board correspondence board, I'd like to request a special board meeting. You see the dates there. This is the purpose of the special board meeting is to conduct my evaluation. So we're proposing these dates here: Monday, August 24th, Tuesday, August 25th, Wednesday, August 26th, or Thursday, August 27th. Wanted to provide you some options. As the board is aware, my evaluation is due October 15th. We've shared a timeline with the board, and next week you will be receiving the evaluation documents with a portfolio and those items. And Dr. Baker, who is conducting the evaluation, said he's available on these dates. So I would like, as the board president, if we can schedule this so we can get the evaluation done. So that's the week of the 24th through the 27th. So,
What is the board's wishes? Or any questions?
Any day's fine for me. I would say Thursday would be great.
We want to keep it Thursday for which is our traditional date. That works for me, 27th.
Thursday is good for me.
Yeah, Thursday is fine.
Like Thursday, August 27th it is.
And we were proposing 5:30.
Okay.
Okay.
So
I will put that on the board's calendar, Thursday, August 27th.
All right.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, board. And again, as I stated, we will send you the the documents via email next week with obviously the information, and then we go from there. So I think that's it for me this evening. Again, I just want to state again, thank you everybody out there for your graciousness and patience. We're all in this together, and we will get through this. And thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Miranda. Moving on to 7.0 board member comments. 7.1, Board Member Ibarra.
Thank you, Pat. I'd like to begin with thanking all the administration, all our educators, classified workers, parents, the community, for working together with us as we open up this new school year of distant learning. I know it's going to be a challenge because I'm actually doing some form of that myself. So I've already seen some of the challenges that could occur, and that it's going to be new, particularly when we have our elementary school students and their particular needs, and our secondary students as well. So I would agree when we use the word patience. I think it's going to be imperative that we provide tons of support, give plenty of patience. I've had several emails, as maybe some of my colleagues as well. And it's something that we're all walking this road together. And I think it's going to be important for us to do it together, because as we work together, the stronger the effort will be. Now, Christina did mention something that made a lot of sense to me earlier. She mentioned that, and I know for a fact that a lot of the teachers are stressed the first week putting everything together. I would recommend that as a district, as every individual site, that we hold off on any paperwork and requirements for the least the first week or two from the teachers, so that they can get accustomed, they could work with their students, they could be free to set up this distant learning curriculum and education for all our students. I think it's imperative that we get off well. And like someone said earlier, I know that, there are some that are doing well and some that are struggling out there. And I think it's important for us to give the teachers a little latitude at this point, so that they could be free to work through all the issues with their students and not have to worry about any additional requirements or paperwork, at least for the first week or two. Like we had talked about, we need to do this together. I think that it's going to be important for all of us as a district to understand that this is going to be a process. Every day we're hoping that it gets better. We become more familiar. We learn new things. It's going to be a daily thing that we're all going to be learning together. And I'm saying this from the top to the bottom. The whole district, we're all going to be learning, including the parents. So once again, I'll backtrack and say that we have to be very patient, and we really, really need to work and keep the open lines of communication between all of us, so that we can make sure that first and foremost, our students get the education that we're striving for. So I'm hoping that we can consider some of those thoughts, consider that maybe we need to not require so much from the teachers for at least the first 2 weeks, other than the fact that they're working together with them and their students so that we can get off to a good start. Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Ibarra. Board Member Sandoval?
Hi. Well, my comments is again, sorry, my internet is not working pretty good, so I'm breaking down. But I want to say again to Mr. Mooney about the presentation that it was really great, involving parents. And regarding Mr. Me, and I know it's real hard to start the school year. For yesterday was the first day, but I also agree that it is kind of hard for our students, or especially also parents. They do have to go to work. They have to find someone to babysit, and just to have 30 minutes of learning, uh, I don't think that's enough time to be the first thing. That part I am a little bit disappointed, because our kids, teachers, they knew the first was yesterday. Kids were on time, they logged in, and I noticed it was just 30 minutes. We all knew the school started it, and I also know that some students don't have their teachers yet. I understand that too. But for the ones that they were ready, that they did log in, parents that they had to schedule something to be there with their kids while they were logged in, they needed it to have a little bit longer than just 30 minutes. And that's all. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Sandoval. Board Member Fuentes?
Board President Haro, appreciate that. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to school. Our second day of school, and I know it was a challenging couple of days. I think I'm not gonna say much. I think Mercy Barra kind of said what I wanted to say is we should give our teachers and the overall Colton family the opportunity to get their feet wet in what we're doing with our distant learning and all of that. So I'm not going to repeat what he said. We are cheering you on. I know as a board and my colleagues, we are cheering you on. We want to make it an easy process. I know it's not, but we want to make sure that you have everything you need. Soon, for our teachers to go back to the classroom. Hopefully we can get them back in the classroom and have you teach from the class. I know that would be a vital and a very important thing. I'm pushing for that too. I want to see when we can have our teachers back in the classroom teaching the distant learning. That would be great. I know having everything at your hand, it makes it much easier, and having that classroom format is the best way we can do. So we are cheering you on. We are praying for you. We want to make sure everything's good. Just any questions that need to be asked, I'm hoping that we can answer. I know our website, our district website, has a lot of opportunities. Our parent portal is available. Email, I've had some questions from parents. If you need to email me or text me, call me. I'm available, and I can always find who can answer the question if I don't have the answer for that. But I really, really appreciate each and every one of you, teachers, principals, staff, our M&O staff, everybody working in our schools, working to make these things happen. The priority is our students. That is our priority, making sure that they are learning on a daily basis. I have two girls in the district. This year I have a freshman and a senior this year. and I was online with them. Actually, it's kind of snuck into their rooms while they were going through class, and it was great to see the teachers were very involved with them, and they were online with them and teaching them. And you know, I've asked my girls how they felt the first day, and I haven't asked them yet. I haven't seen them for today, but I asked them how their first day was. He says, "Well, Dad, it's not the same thing, but you know, at least we have someone that's teaching us, and they're helping us understand, you know, what our lessons are about." So I'm hoping, like I said, that, excuse me, and I think this comment's been around so many times. We are building the plane as we fly it, and it's a learning basis for everyone. And again, I'll ditto what Mr. Ibarra said. We are gonna try to make sure that everybody has the opportunity, and we're, you know, not to push everybody, but to help everybody and to help each other. And we are a family. We try to bring that out as a family, and as a family, we need to help each other. Once again, I want to thank you. Those presentations that were presented today were phenomenal. Thank you, Dr. Mooney, once again for your presentation and the updates and the changes that you made, and involving our parents in the book listing there. One thing I'm going to leave you with today as my last comment is it says, each new day is another chance from God. Have a safe one. Continue to learn. Keep your head up. We're here for you. God bless you.
Thank you, Board Member Fuentes. Board Member Thoring Ojeda.
Thank you, Mrs. Haro. I'll start by also thanking all of our employees and our parent community for their work and their patience during this startup. I know we've had plenty of our glitches. Doing what is being done in technology is a huge feat, and it may seem like we're not together. It's just there's a lot to be done, and people are working as hard as they possibly can. I know teachers are really, those who don't have all their kids yet, I know it's very frustrating because they want to do such a great job, and they will get this done, and you will do a great job. And you know, I know every teacher is out there trying to locate all her kids. Some kids we aren't able to, haven't been able to locate with all the phone numbers. A lot of them aren't working. So I just say patience, and it will get better. I remember as a first year teacher, they kept saying it will get better, and it does. It's just really frustrating for everyone, including parents. I understand all of that. Just give us a little more time, and we'll get it. It will all be working very smoothly. I will take this time to publicly thank Director and CISO for expediting the request for the community eligibility provision for our entire school district. I don't know if parents understand exactly what that is, but because of his efforts, he made it happen that every single student in our school district will be receiving a free breakfast and lunch every single school day. And I greatly appreciate that because especially now with so many families being out of work, that is just something that is probably the most important thing to a kid. And I just appreciate his getting that done because I know that is not an easy thing to have happen. And lastly, but certainly not least, again, I want to thank Dr. Mooney for his excellent presentation, for answering my questions, and particularly for me, the inclusion of so many parents on the curriculum committee and calling those parents in who had some concerns, very strong emotional concerns for last school year for their students. And I appreciate that. Parents are the most important person in a child's life. They're first teachers, and they need to be part of that. So I really appreciate the fact that there's so much more inclusion. And I want to thank the teachers on the curriculum council. You know, the one I know is Lucy Leva, and I just thank you so much, Lucy, for opening up your classroom last year and letting people come in and actually watching this and with students. And I just appreciate that. Our kids get so much out of these language arts discussions. I understand that. I just want to make sure, and I thank Dr. Mooney for the whole process, that those children who aren't ready for some of those discussions will be cared for as well. So thank you so much. That's all my comments.
Thank you, Board Member Thoring Ojeda. Board Member Araguin.
Can we pause here to change our sign language interpreters, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you. We're all set. Thank you.
First of all, I want to just echo what Mr. Yata and what mentioned regarding teachers and the start that we had so far this year. That we follow. One of them being the engagement reporting and how we're held accountable for that. But if there is anything that we can do, whatever we can do to ease that burden from our teachers at this point, they need to. We need to free them up so they can teach. We need to free them up so they can collaborate, and we need to, to free up their time so that they can prepare their lessons. And I understand we have regulations, but if there's any way possible, for example, just an example is, how they take roll. Is there any way we can look at ways that we can make it easier for the teachers to take roll? And I understand there's the way they enter their information for students. They, two different rosters that we can done with that. It's double the time that it's taking them to enter the attendance or the contact time. So one of the suggestions that we can look at so that teachers can be freed up to collaborate, to teach, and to plan. Reach out to our classified staff. I know that this has been very tough on our classified too, and I just want to thank them for their patience also, and for their, for their dedication to our district. And this is our community. We're all in this together. So, one other thing really I'm really excited about is throughout all this, we're all stressed. We're all stressed. We really need to look at special ed population, our special ed students, our newcomers, our English learners, and special ed who are well identified. They're going to struggle to catch up. The learning loss for them is it's going to be huge. So if we can also keep them as a priority and make sure that we, number one, avoid them getting moved around. I know sometimes they have to be moved, but always keep them in the forefront and make sure that they're lost in the shuffle. That's my biggest concern, is that they need to start gaining their learning, the learning loss from day one. They cannot afford to lose any time. Again, I want to thank Dr. Enciso for this huge accomplishment, and I know also mentioned that. I also want to just congratulate the librarians. I don't know if the video has gone viral, but it should. They put together an amazing video that the kids would enjoy. I enjoyed it, and so I just want to encourage everyone, if you have not seen the librarian video, look at it, because it's just awesome, and it just did. Just automatically lifted my spirits when I saw it. So thank you, librarians. With that, I want to thank everyone, and and if you, parents, teachers, if you need to talk, or if you need to, we're here. That's our job. We understand. We understand the how difficult this is, and I just want you to know that we're here to listen and share your concerns with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Araguin. Board Member Flores.
Thank you. Just want to thank everybody for what they've done to help make this start of the year as good as it could be. Listen, the fact is, this is not the start of the school year that any of us wanted. Certainly not what we envisioned. These are unprecedented times. And just to remind folks, we received the guidelines from the state of California, if I'm not mistaken, 3 weeks ago, I think, maybe 4 tops. and it's literally changing almost on a daily basis. So the fact that our district as a whole, from the administration to our teachers to our classified, all the support staff, were able to mobilize themselves so quickly and put together what I think is a pretty good job of starting a school year in a way that a school year has never been started. Think of this, the onset of technology being what it is, we've never had a start to the school year like this, and not just our region, our state, but our country. And were there hiccups? Yes, I have 3 kids that all started the same day. There were a little bit of hiccups here and there, but I got to tell you what I also saw was some pretty incredible presentations by teachers that have clearly put a lot of time and effort working together to create PowerPoints, schedules, running through what the day would look like for the students. I saw a principal who was participating in all of these orientation meetings. Yes, they were only 30 minutes at times, but that's because it was meant to be an orientation, begin to prepare parents for what they need to know in the coming days, weeks, and months. So I certainly appreciate some of the concerns and frustrations that parents have, but I have to tell them, please be patient. I'm a parent too, and we're going with the flow. We are being flexible, but our teachers are doing some pretty phenomenal stuff with very little time given to them. So I'm optimistic. We're going to make the absolute best of it, but I do want to express my appreciation to our teachers and all of our staff that have put together the rubrics and the curriculum that's going to be it's going to be unique and it's going to be a challenge, but at the same time they're doing our best to make sure our kids get a great experience. So I'm going to focus on the positives, and when we need to make corrections we will, I'm sure, but I saw some pretty awesome work already by our teachers, and I'm looking forward to making sure they have the resources to be successful. I would ask that we all be patient, we all be flexible, and understand that this is a work in progress. So with that, I want to thank everybody again for a great meeting and the opportunity to work together. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you, Board Member Flores, for your comments. My comments this evening, I too would like to see, I agree with Ms. Parachi's comments as far as giving the teachers and administrators, but especially our teachers, the grace period that they need to turn in any required paperwork. I think, you know, the start of the 2021 school year has not been the best. You know, Colton is known for always doing things in a timely manner, and you know what, we're trying. This is something that is a daunting task to get these students separated by who's distance learning all year and who's going to be doing the hybrid version. And I know the common thread in everybody's comments this evening was patience. And so I too ask for everyone's patience, but I also agree with Ms. Parachi in the fact that with that patience, we also have to have grace. And so I would ask also that we would look at allowing the teachers that time to get that paperwork in, whatever it is that they, you know, I don't know all that is required of them at the beginning of the school year, but if we could give them time to get that in, let them get their classroom as it is in order and get students learning, and then allow them to turn that paperwork in. I too want to thank Director Enciso for all his hard work on getting this lunch and breakfast program. We've been trying for a while to do this, and not that it hasn't been tried before, but we've tried and tried and tried, and something, you know, it has to do with perseverance, because we finally got this program to be accepted for Colton, and it couldn't come at a better time for our parents and our students that we serve. I would hope with that program, I've seen a couple of comments on our Colton Facebook page, our Colton district Facebook page, of parents who, one, I believe she was blind. There were a couple of comments where parents are unable to come in and pick up those meals for their child. So I'm hoping we can respond back to those parents, if only on the Facebook page, to have them contact someone, and maybe we can make accommodations for these parents who have those types of issues, because all students deserve that meal. And we need to do whatever we can to make sure that they get that meal. I always post something every year on social media at the beginning of the school year. And it's the same thing I post every year because it has the same meaning every year. But this year, more than ever. Watching on social media, the frustration in our teachers is heartbreaking. Watching the frustration from parents is heartbreaking. So with that, I posted this, a prayer for our teachers. Dear God, thank you for the amazing teachers who have given their lives to serve our children. As they prepare for the new year, fill them with strength to lead, grace to guide, and hope to thrive in their classroom. Bless them beyond measure for their willingness to pour into the next generation education. With that, we are adjourning into closed session to discuss the items listed on the closed session agenda. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Joanne, do you think we're good to dismiss the sign language interpreters?
Sorry, Shane. Yeah, I think we're good. I think they could be dismissed.
Okay. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate your help this evening.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Joanne, Ms. Thornhill is unable to access the closed session. Can we send her another link to it?
I'll do that right now, Shane.
Thank you. Joanne, can you send it to her personal email address? Do you have that?
Sure thing. I'll do that right now.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tina. Yeah, she's having problems accessing the meeting. She has a.
Shane, you're on. You're not muted.
Sorry about that. That's Tina letting me know she wasn't in the meeting yet.
No problem. I just didn't want to have anything disclosed. I sent her the information. I'm going to try to send her other information.
She's in now. Tina, let me know. Yeah,
okay,
we're good.
awesome. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Shane, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
After this meeting, can you call and we can try to get that password fixed so I can use my iPad?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No problem.
That must be what happened because I can't, it doesn't show anything now.
Yes.
Joanne, I apologize, Medina, for not coming by to pick up my cards.
Oh, no, that's okay. Yeah.
I got a little busy and couldn't make it.
Yeah. So Dr. Brand is there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from about 8 to 11, 12 lunch, and then he comes back in the office in the afternoon. So I'm sure you can move, maybe one days when you're in our area or something.
Alrighty, I will. Thank you.
No problem.
Can you hear me, Joanne?
Yes, I can hear you, Ms.
Okay, okay. So right now we just have Mr. Fuentes, okay, Mr. Ibarra, and Ms. Loring Ojeda.
Ms. Sandoval is also on.
Okay.
I'm here
Ms.
too.
Adivine is also on.
And Mr. Flores, okay.
Yep,
Ms.
we're
Flores
good.
is on.
Okay, we're
We're
good.
good then. And what about?
I'm back here, so sorry about that. This technology here.
Okay, Dr. Miranda, I want to make sure you are here.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
here. Sorry about that. Just
Okay.
I think, yeah, okay.
Okay, it's 9 o'clock and the board is back from closed session. On a motion, item 9.1, personnel public employee appointment, government code 54957. Motion by board member Flores and seconded by board member Fuentes. The board approved the following action. The governing board heard the complaint of employee number 10037. Upon a vote of 7-0, the board upheld the district's decision regarding the complaint and directed staff to respond on its behalf. Item 9.2, personnel public employee appointment, government code 54957. Personnel public certificated regular staff 5, math teacher, Grand Terrace High School, opportunity teacher, Washington Alternative High School, science physics teacher, Bloomington High School, SDC moderate severe teacher, Lincoln, SDC moderate severe teacher, Smith. Classified coaches 3, head junior varsity volleyball, girls, varsity football assistant, boys 2, volunteers 32, and I apologize, I didn't say it, on a motion by board member Fuentes and a second by board member Araquin. The board approved all of these 5 certificated, 3 classified coaches, and 32 volunteers on a 7-0 vote. I apologize for that.
No problem.
And with that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Be safe.
Good night. Good night, everybody.
Take care.
See you
Good
guys
night.
soon.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Shane.